So actually, now we'll start recording. So welcome to today's webcast, team. So we're going to change it up. We're going to go from, I was planning on doing product first and then moving into the format of an ER role play, so you can see how I kind of conduct my business, how I act and things like that. I think it's important. So I had a meeting with, I ran a meeting with one of our associates up here in Flagstaff, man, and she was so excited. Are you, Gail, can you talk about that a little bit before we get going? Let me unmute you. Go ahead, Gail. Do you mind talking about that?
Okay, yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So, in reference to yesterday's meeting?
Yes.
So, how it actually started is I had approached a business, trying to get Aflac in there, and had discovered through the conversation with the DM that they use a broker. So, so with that, you know, we want to respect the broker, and basically all, you know, not all communication stopped with the DM, but I contacted Eric to see if we could meet with the broker and establish a relationship with that broker so that we can provide coverage with the businesses, or with the business benefit package, and fill in any gaps that they may be missing in their comprehensive package. So Eric and I met with the broker, and it was the meeting was just awesome. There was some hesitancy with the broker, but we were able to talk it through and get past it, and establish a really good rapport with them. And so it was very successful. They want to work with us. They do want to partner with us. So I do have, you know, we do have access to that business now to go in and provide some plans. And with that, we're going to have access to some of their other accounts as well, so that we can provide some of our plans that they are not currently being offered. So a lot of the things that they have right now, especially that business, they have some of the plans that we offer. So we're not going to step on their toes and try and compete with them, but basically just, you know, be a partner and just fill in those gaps where needed. But it was a great meeting. We're going to actually go to lunch with them as well, and not even talk about business, but just to develop that friendship, that relationship, so that we can further earn their trust and maintain their trust. And we're going to continue to do this. This is not just a one-time lunch, but, you know, we're going to get together with them every so often just to make sure everything is good. We're doing what we need to do for them, and work with them in that way. So, and Eric was awesome during this meeting. He was amazing. It was nice to see how he, his strategy and so forth, especially when I got a little, I won't say a little sticky, but, you know, there was some hesitancy, you know, wanting to work with us. But we were able to get past that. So kudos to Eric.
Well, it was campus in the room, too. You had a lot to do with that. I'm going to mute you real quick, Gail.
Okay.
Because I'm getting a little feedback. But before I do that, can you just mention how important, remember when we were walking up to the broker's office and I said, this is exactly what they're going to say, and then we were kind of ready for it? So how did that help us to where we weren't shocked or didn't freak out or didn't know what to say? How important was it to know what the objection was before we actually walked in the door?
You know, that's really important. And, you know, I had stopped by your office before we went to that appointment, just so that, you know, make sure that we're on the same page, everything is transparent, everything's out on the table. And, we discussed, what roadblocks are we going to run into? And how is it that we're going to, accomplish that? So we had talked about that ahead of time, and, predicting what they might say. And sure enough, it was like, we just rubbed this magic crystal ball and and they said exactly what we thought they were going to say, some of their challenges with, working with Aflac and so forth. So we had a strategy moving forward on how we're going to address that.
Perfect.
So be prepared.
That is exactly what I wanted to hear from you, because guys, listen, do you know that if you could know the customer's objection before you walk in the door, man, how powerful that is. And literally we were talking. So what is the problem? What is the problem that we have? And it's a global problem. Okay. It's something I run into all the time. And it's something I ran into as an associate, not working with brokers yet, because as an associate, you grow into that role. But it's the same situation. I knew almost what they were going to say before I walked in the door, so I was prepared for it. And when they threw it out there, I was measured. Okay. So the biggest struggle we have in any market is that, have they seen an Aflac agent before? Yeah, they have. I mean, there's very few businesses that haven't been approached by Aflac. Most of them, I should say, there's about 40% that haven't, and most of those are run out of people's homes. When we had the dip in the economy, a lot of companies moved off of Main Street just to try to stay in business, and so they moved their business into their home so they could reduce expenses and actually stay afloat. And so there's a lot of businesses, first of all, that when you guys are pulling your leads list up or you're looking for businesses that you're going to go approach, like I would pull the Sales Genie up or Reference USA and find every business that's not on the main street, because those are the businesses that haven't been approached yet by Aflac, right? But the businesses on the main street, we still have to approach them. The problem is they've had somebody or several people come through the door, and guess what happened? They told them no. But we know that in Aflac, we realize that the fortune is in the follow-up. The fortune is not in the one-hit wonder, right? Think about Elvis Presley, right? How many platinum albums did he put out, like, in his career? But then you have that guy that wrote that one song and you never heard from him again, right? Who makes more money? The person that throws out platinums. How do you do that in Aflac? You prevent yourself from being a one-hit wonder by proper follow-up. You also don't callous our marketplace. So the first time I'd walk in, I was expecting them to say, yeah, somebody from Aflac already saw me today. So what are you going to say when they say that on the approach? You know what I did? And why I'm still here? Well, I didn't fail. It wasn't because I had a magic pixie dust. I just said, hey, you guys must have been waiting for me. And he smiled, right? Did you see that on camera, right? That's recorded. You have to smile when I say that, right? And if you engage in humor and have a little I keep saying it wrong.
Self-deprecation.
Deprecation. I almost want to say something else that's close to that word, and I don't want to screw up, right? But here's the thing, guys. You gotta laugh a little bit. You gotta have fun. They're human beings just like you are. You love to smile, so do they. So think of something that you're going to say when they say, we've seen Aflac come in here before, or we tried it before, right? So, but what I want to hone in on today is really what does it look like? I want to eliminate fear today, because fear is truly our biggest obstacle. Or is this guy going to say no? The fear of getting out of your car and going in and facing rejection. We've got to call out our enemy for what it is, and the enemy is fear. It's not people. It's fear. It's a feeling. So once you get over that, guys, all of a sudden that fear factor in the brain starts to go down further and further as you do it more and more. It doesn't bother you. Say no to me. I don't care. I'll be back. Right? So how can you say it that easy, Eric? Because I'm doing it for 8 years. But I'm going to tell you, I felt that way 6 months into my career. So sitting down with the business owner, so once you gain that appointment, and you sit down with the business owner, I want to hone in on this new business profile. So first of all, make sure that you're bringing your card with you, your Edge methodology card. And what I like to do is I like to first of all build some rapport. So, hey, Brendan, nice to meet. Thanks for taking some time with me today, man. Hey, now you're in the insurance business. So who got you started in it, man? Did you have a mentor or somebody that helped you out?
Well, my dad was in the insurance business for years, so I just kind of grew up around it and was helping him out with paperwork and stuff through high school. And then eventually I took my licensing test and he brought me on board.
Oh, wow. Okay, so so your dad was in the insurance business for years. How many years was he in the insurance business?
I think he started when he was 35, now he's 50.
Oh my gosh.
He's been in there a long time.
35, how many years? 15 years. Wow. That's pretty cool. So he likes that? He likes doing it?
Yeah, makes a great living.
Good.
A lot of people.
Helps a lot of people too. Okay. So what drives you, what ignites your passion in insurance? What specifically, man, lights your fire every day to go to work?
More the problem solving. So just the challenge of trying to help like self-insured trust. These small businesses are looking for those kinds of solutions that are going to help their business. Just putting the pieces together and, you know, meet with somebody who has an issue and then seeing the bright smile on their face after you can find something that works for them.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you get a real charge out of helping people.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So I'm going to pause for a second. So in relationship building, Frank Northrup taught me, and it was my associate when I was in district, taught me an important lesson. He said, Eric, it's the art of listening. Now notice what I said. Your dad's been in the insurance business, and you said for many years. How many years, right? And then he said, well, he started when he was 35 and now he's 50. So here's the important thing. I'm listening to what they say. This is very, very important for both males and females, but even more important for females, okay? Especially if you're a man. And I just call things out like it is because you got to know what's going on. We're not going to play footsies here. We're really going to get down to the meat and potatoes. So especially I'm not going to play footsies with you. But, yeah, we don't want to do that. Right. So, so here's the point of the matter, is that you repeat back what they say. So ask a question, dive a little deeper into what they're saying, and it shows that you care, and you repeat back what they say. So, wow, you know, somebody says, I've been in business for 30 years, you know, or I do my research. Listen, you get ahead of the game is, like we did with Gail, is if you can kind of get ahead of the questions or the information, then what happens is your brain has more time to think and calculate what you're going to say. So the words come out better. It comes out more thoughtful. It's not, you know, quick draw McGraw. You're really thinking about that person. So, so I did research on a business, and it was somebody wanted to see me do an ER for them, and it was for another team. And they said, hey, can you just go on an ER with me? I had already set up, and the business owner's going to be there. Can you go with me? I just want to see you in action, you know, because they know me as the account opener. So I said, yeah, I'll go in there and do it with you, man. And I just walked in. I'll help anybody. Walked into the meeting, greeted the guy, sat down, and I'd already done some research. So I knew that this business has been in business for 33 years, and they've been locally owned, family owned the entire time. It's a physical therapy office. His dad started it, and now his dad retired, and his son took over the operation. They have about 7 employees. So what we did is we sat down and I said, hey, you know, I did a little bit of research on your business. Shows you care. Shows they're important. You did research on them. So I noticed that your business, now he was in business for 33 years, but you create the opportunity to allow them to say something, right? So I said, I was, you know, reading about your business, and I noticed that you've been in business for over 30 years. And he goes, 33 years. And I said, wow. 33 years. What it does is it lights off endorphins in the head, in the brain, and it says this person's actually engaged in the conversation, but also it makes them feel really good because they said something to you, you heard it and repeated it back. So it is 100% psychological, right? But I do it too because I genuinely care. So that's the other side of it. It can't be fake because people can read through phoniness. So starting off, as a business owner, we service over 460,000 businesses here in the U.S. And we find that one of these top 5 things seems to affect all of our businesses. So what would be the top thing if you were to say that's impacting your business in a negative way?
I would say healthcare reform. Definitely being in the insurance business is definitely difficult. And maintaining that competitiveness. Well, we've been in business for 15 years now, and I'm starting to come up on that, that section where I'm taking over from my dad. It becomes difficult to find those good people because he was the one carrying, over 80% of the business on his shoulders.
So maintaining, and it's getting to be a very competitive market, isn't it?
It definitely is.
So let's start off with healthcare reform, because you're mentioning two that are impacting you, and I want to address both. So starting off with healthcare reform, what seems to have the biggest, what's causing you problems right now?
Definitely Obamacare
Okay.
coming up. And the fear of the market, I would say.
Fear in the market,
Yeah.
like in your customers and stuff.
Yeah, they don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, nobody.
Nobody trust us or trust anybody really.
No, and you see you can't even get anything through Congress, man. You see that they voted on that skinny bill or whatever the heck that thing was, and they couldn't even get it off over the finish line. So it looks like we're stuck with Obamacare for at least the next, in the short term. Is there anything you're doing currently to mitigate that? What kind of things are you putting in your?
I'm trying to help people get in the market, so using like the shop plans for some of these smaller businesses, but definitely trying to pull from other companies that aren't on the marketplace to give people better rates.
Okay, so both on and off the marketplace.
Exactly, depending on their situation.
So what seems to be the biggest issue with the shop insurance? What is it about the shop insurance that's hard for the customers to deal with?
Price.
Okay, so cost. Okay, so cost being number one, and then is it cost on the premium or cost on the deductible side when they go to use the policy?
I would say both.
So both. And I have an article. Now I hope everybody got that Elevate article I sent out yesterday. And so what you can do is, if you have that is a fresh, hot article, pull that article out, right, and have it ready, okay, and pull it out and say, hey, listen, I have an article here I just read, and you might be interested in. If you don't have it ready, you can say, hey, I just read an article. Would you like me to email it to you, right? And then right after you leave, so you don't forget, look that article up and email it to them, so that base is covered, right? You want to show yourself as credible. So I read an article recently that it talked about that. In fact, it just was released yesterday, and it talked about how a lot of businesses are going to higher deductible plans, and then augment, trying to fill in that gap with a voluntary benefit like our hospital indemnity. Are you doing anything like that currently?
We have a current partnership with Allstate Benefits.
Okay.
But really, they've been kind of dropping the ball on a lot of our customers in the servicing area.
Okay, gotcha. So you have a service model. Okay. So now competitiveness. Now you're talking about more competitive in the marketplace, or about retention and keeping your employees? What seems to be the big?
I would say competitiveness in the marketplace.
Okay. So you're talking about as a broker giving solutions.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because we're not a huge brokerage, but we work with some big names.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Do you also do like P&C, or is it just health?
We do have a P&C specialist in our office.
Do you guys do workman's comp?
We do. Yeah. Mary handles all that.
Have you heard her fussing about increased workman's comp rates?
She does have some customers that are to say the least, frustrated in the rise in workman's comp.
Would you mind if I set up a separate meeting with Mary just to go over that? Because we do have some solutions that could really give her some help.
Sure. Yeah, we can go talk to her after we finish up here.
Perfect. All right. So who do you primarily work with? Now, the thing is, I want to make sure that this is an employer, because most of the people that are in attendance are not going to be going strictly to brokers.
Right.
So we want to really hone in on the employee side of things. So who's your major medical provider? Who do you use for your employees?
Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Okay, Blue Cross Blue Shield. What's the deductible on that medical plan?
It's $3 for an individual.
3.
And 6 for a family.
Do you offer an HSA with that?
We do.
Make note on there to ask about HSA. I'll add that in and update it. Actually, I think I have that down here. Yep, I do. So you got HSA on that. Now, how many, do you have a large participation on the HSA side, or is it just?
We do, pretty much everybody in the office has one.
Okay, HSA means health savings account, where they get to stow money away, tax-free, and it's designed just to fill in the voids of the major medical. Specifically, has to be prescriptions, cannot be over-the-counter medicine, but you can use to pay your deductibles, co-pays, out-of-pocket expenses, okay? So do you feel that you understand your employee's financial situation?
I feel like I do. I'm typically the one who's doing the payroll and writing the checks.
Okay, so making sure that payroll gets done and things.
Exactly.
So they like you.
Yeah, they definitely do. And the check on Friday.
So now it just went up. It was 76 2 months ago. Now it's 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So do you feel that some of your employees are in that situation as well?
I feel that some of them could be making more money, and I think some of them are a little discouraged when they take away that check. But I would say most of them are doing okay. It's mostly the receptionists that I worry about.
Receptionist, okay.
Yeah.
Do you offer paycheck protection like short-term disability to your employees?
We have not. I've looked into it, but never took the step forward.
Anything that kept you from doing it?
Just too many options.
Okay.
To go over.
And you got enough to know about insurance,
Yeah.
man. You don't need to learn another policy. I'm with you. So how does your maternity coverage work then?
Maternity coverage, we do a 6-month paid time off after they've been here for 2 years.
So does that start off on day one? Or on
Yes,
day
yes, it
8,
does.
second week of the,
Yeah, after I get a note from the doctor.
okay, and then you just pay that?
Mhm.
Okay. So do you offer any other voluntary benefits like long-term disability? How about dental?
We do. Yes.
Okay, dental, vision.
We do. Yep.
Do you offer any type of gap plan other than the HSA? Okay. Life insurance?
No.
And cancer coverage?
We do through the Allstate benefits.
But they're kind of dropping the ball a little bit.
I think I'm the only one with the policy.
Okay. How about accident coverage?
No.
And heart attack plan, any type of critical illness policy?
Just the Allstate one, and I think I'm the only one with that too.
All right. So, okay, so how informed are your employees about the healthcare reform penalties?
I feel like they're pretty informed.
Do they know they have, and you have good participation in your health plan?
Yeah, and I work with our receptionist who's not as familiar, so.
All right, man, how
She's
many?
got some help.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. You guys pause this and I almost made an error. See that? Don't talk over them. Let them finish their sentence.
So we've got about 5 people total in our company.
You know what happened? See what I did? I grabbed my chin. You know what happens when you grab your chin? Your mouth doesn't move. Little secret. Shows you're paying attention. All right. So good. Thank you for that information. How many employees do you have total?
5.
5. And then are they all W-2 or are there some 1099?
W2.
W-2. Okay. All W-2. What is your male-female ratio?
2 to 3.
2 to 3. Okay, gotcha. And then are your employees mostly single or married?
I'm married.
And then do we need bilingual assistance? If you walk into an office and it's an insurance office, they probably don't need bilingual assistance, but it's something you should keep in the back of your mind. I probably wouldn't ask him because he'd probably look at me like, what are you, insane? So what is your payroll cycle? Do you pay weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly?
We do semi-monthly.
Okay, now semi-monthly, does that mean that you guys just do it twice a month?
Yep.
24 in a week, in a
Yes.
year? Okay.
Payroll cycles.
Do you do deductions out of every paycheck?
We do.
Okay, good. And then who does your payroll?
I do.
You do, okay. And then who handles, oh, I already know. See, now I would ask, he's an insurance office, obviously he's handling his own insurance, so I wouldn't ask him who handles his major medical because I'm looking at the person, but you do want to ask who handles your major medical and who is your name of your representative. So at this point, you'll see there's in bold, this is the transitional statement. So I've gotten some basic information. And so what I want to do now is transition into offering. So I've done a lot of listening, intake, He feels like he's been able to share. I've repeated back a few times what he said, held my chin when I needed to. So based on the information you provided me today, Brendan, I have found specific solutions to help your business and your employees, the specific things that we can do. Number one, so now what I do is I go back to the top of this form. I made notes, okay, scribble marks and everything. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start off with the top, and here's what I do. So you can actually see what I'm writing. I write cost, both. I'm writing little, shop plans, and I'm noticing there's a big void there. I'm filling the deductibles, Obamacare, fear in the marketplace, so I'm circling. What I did about this form is you can just circle the specific things, and you can just write little tick notes. It doesn't have to be full-on paragraphs and things like that. You just want to take some quick notes. So now, Brendan, based on the information you provided me today, we have specific solutions for your business and your employees. Would you like to hear about those?
Yeah, definitely.
So starting off with, you're dealing with Allstate. I don't think Allstate's a bad company. I just think that the biggest problem that they're suffering from right now is the lack of local representation. We're in every city, in every major city in the U.S. And when I say major city, right, we consider Flagstaff a major city, right? We're in Flagstaff, Bullhead City, Kingman. We have offices in Kingman and Lake Havasu, as well as out in Snowflakes. I mean, we're everywhere. So wherever your employees are, we can help them out, okay? And we have that bandwidth. So I think that that's probably the major issue there. I don't think Allstate's a bad company. I just think they don't have the bandwidth you're looking for. So we can definitely provide that for you. Make sure your employees are taken care of. And then looking at like the shop plans, the high deductibles that you're referring to, where we can come in is similar to what you're doing with Allstate. We can come in with our Aflac policies and fill those voids in deductibles and out-of-pocket expenses. Now, specifically, you said you were the only person that's on the critical illness policy and the cancer policy. Do you know is there any reason why that would be? Was it communicated out well? Do you think that your employees got all the information? Because you saw the need for it, but then your employees didn't.
I don't think they've been fully educated on it. I mean, it's been a few years since we've seen that.
So,
about 3 years.
Oh, 3 years. Wow, 3 years. So what I'd like to do is just set up a presentation for all your employees and just explain to them the benefits. And we do it in very voluntary mindset when we do. We just basically educate them, and if they want to participate, great. If not, that's okay too. Is that something that you'd be interested in?
I might need some information first.
Well, sure, absolutely. So now also looking at, you offer dental, vision through other carriers. Obviously, we won't touch that when we do the presentation, but we'll go deep. And so what I'd like to do is have you in that meeting as well, so I can just cover it, because I don't want to, you do insurance, and like you mentioned, you don't want to, it's too many options, like even on the short-term disability policy. I'll make it clean, I'll make it clear. I'd like you to be in attendance so I can educate all of your employees, including yourself, and then just hand out benefit questionnaires. And if they want to participate, great. If not, that's okay too. Is that fair?
Sure, that sounds fair.
Okay, so see what just happened? I need some more information. What'd I do? I'm gonna give you the information when I come back and do the presentation for your employees. I said that without being rude, right? And then referred back to what he said before about short-term disability. So it's the art of navigating through that conversation without offending them or being like acting like a know-it-all, right?
Exactly.
So we'll go ahead and do that for you as well. And the other thing that we'd like to offer you, so for a new account, we're doing something special right now to really treat our customers. We'll kind of roll out that red carpet and let you really feel the experience of working with Aflac. So have you had anybody with identity theft issues come to you that works for you? Say no.
No.
No identity theft? Okay. Now, you being in insurance, do you use like a teledoc type service?
Not right now, no.
Okay. So this is something that you can, it's a really cool system to where, like, let's say Mary, for instance, you mentioned her, she works on the workman's comp side. So Mary goes home, she picks up her kid from daycare. Does she have children?
Yeah, she has 2 kids.
Okay, so yeah, she picks up her child from daycare or school. She takes the child home and she notices a rash. And so Mary's got a lot of stuff to do. She's handling your PNC. I mean, her workload's high, right? But she notices a rash. So what happens is instead of coming back to work tomorrow, she has to take her child into the doctor to get that looked at. Now with MeMD, what she could do is actually log on with a PA or a doctor or a nurse, and the doctor can look at that rash, possibly identify it, and have a prescription at Walgreens. So think about this. She goes home, notices the rash, gets on with MeMD, and instead of missing tomorrow's work to see the doctor, they can get that prescription done, and the doctor on the teledoc service can actually provide a note releasing that child to school. So that'll save you on productivity. Is that something you'd like me to deploy?
That'd be great. Yeah.
So here's the good news. We'll be able to do that at no cost to your business. Aflac's going to pay for that for 1 full year. The only stipulation of that is that we just get to educate each and every employee. Is that fair?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So what day next week works best to see your employees?
Mondays and Fridays are always hard because we're cramming in, so anything midweek is better.
I have a spot on in morning or afternoon. What seems
Morning.
like
typically
first
is better.
thing or?
Yeah, because then we're prepping for the day, and then everybody goes out either in the field or just getting hip work together.
So what time in the morning is good?
If we could do 8 o'clock.
Okay, let me look at my calendar. I can do Tuesday at 8 o'clock, but can I do Wednesday at 8 o'clock? Would that be okay?
Yeah, that should work.
Perfect. And so what we'll do is I'll come in, I'll educate all your employees if you can just make sure they're all here. And then what we'll do is 2 things. Number 1, we'll educate them on the Aflac benefits. We'll also sign the people up that want to participate right then and there, because there's some people that just like, hey, that's a no-brainer, I just want to get it. But then there's some of your folks that might want to go home and talk to their spouse. So I'd like to come back on Thursday, since it's not Friday. I'll stay away from Friday. So Thursday morning, if I can come back at the exact same time and just collect signatures from the people that want to talk to their spouses.
Sure.
All right, great. So boom. Now that and how he acted was very typical with business owners that I've worked with in the past. And so they'll throw something out and need some more information. And then what I do is basically say, listen, I'm gonna disclose everything when we come in to do that presentation. You don't want to give the employer brochures because now they can say, hey, take a look at this. Do you want it? And before you even come back to do your presentation, the employees didn't get to hear how great it was. They just read a brochure, and I ain't interested in that. I ain't getting a heart attack. And then you don't get to see them. Don't leave brochures. Listen, it's like you're fishing. You got to have bait in the water, right, to catch a fish. But it sucks when the bait gets taken off the hook. Right? It sucks. When you reel that thing in, you look at it, and the hook is just sitting there by itself. That's horrible, right? Because somebody took your bait. When you leave brochures, you're leaving your bait out there to be taken, right? Just get them interested, attract them towards the boat, and then you're going to put that bait back in the water when you do your group presentation. Does that make sense? You just got to know what to take and what not to take. Did you like that?
That was very fun. Thank you.
Okay. So let me jump back into screen share real quick, guys, so you can, we can do the critical care and recovery. And I do like your feedback on that. Guys, it's very important. I'm trying to become a better leader for you. And the only way that I can become better, because my bosses don't get on these calls, I invite everybody, but they're busy too. So my bosses don't get on this call and give me feedback. So I'd really appreciate it if you could tell me, hey, man, that you went too long on this, or, I don't mind constructive criticism. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I can't get better without you. All right. So going with critical care and recovery, get this thing going. So this is very wordy, but bottom line is the need. You may have heard, I'm going to read part of this. So you may have heard that heart disease is America's biggest killer, but it's also one of America's costliest health problems. More than a third of adults in the U.S. have heart disease. More than a third, right? That is alarming. And treatment costs a total of $444 billion in 2010, okay? So I'm going to go down a little bit further. The patient who has a heart attack and comes to the emergency room within 90 minutes and has seen immediately can be discharged the next day and returned to work in a week or two. The problem, though, is that a lot of people ignore the symptoms. And so they don't go in right away, causing more problems in the heart, and then they end up being in there for a long period of time, okay? So in fact, the average cost of treating a patient admitted to the hospital with a heart attack is about $18,200 according to Medicare data. Unfortunately, you don't have to get opt for the cover for the average charge. If an ambulance brings you to the hospital, it's a higher cost. Emergency rooms can charge different things at different hospitals, and a heart attack could be $100,000 or more. Okay, so the answer to the problem now, I want to just pause for a second and explain how important critical care and recovery is. First of all, critical care, guys, heart attacks is the #1 killer in the U.S. I don't know if I have that on the slide, but seriously, it took #1 a few years ago. Cancer was the #1 killer in the U.S. for many, many years, and that has transferred over to the heart attack. Why is it? Diet, lack of exercise. It's just, and some things are in our environment, right? The hereditary part of it really doesn't encapsulate the reason for the increase. It's more of the dietary issues and lack of exercise, not taking care of yourself. So payroll ages 18 to 70, okay? Direct 18 to 64. So this policy is available on a direct basis. Children are covered until the age of 26 years of age. And you say, well, what child has a heart attack, man? Listen, it's not about the heart attack that I feel so much. It's more about if that child ends up in ICU and how this plan pays out for that. So we'll cover that in a little bit. Primary specified health events, so the things that are covered under this policy are heart attack, coma, stroke, end-stage renal failure, major human organ transplant, major third-degree burns, sudden cardiac arrest, persistent vegetative state. Coronary artery bypass surgery, and paralysis. So what I do when I do my presentation is I actually take and I want to see if I can get the camera up, but what I do during my presentation is I actually count them out and I point to my fingers. Let me stop share for a second and get this up so you can see it. So what I do is when I say this, it's very important because there's more connections between the hands and the mind than the mouth and the mind, all right? Even the ears and the mind. There's more communication that takes place between the hands and the mind than any other part of the body, all right? So what I do is I say, listen, this policy, it's critical care and recovery. This policy covers heart attack, coma, stroke, end-stage renal failure, major human organ transplant, major third-degree burn, sudden cardiac arrest, persistent vegetative state, coronary artery bypass surgery, and paralysis. Now, about here, the people are starting to think in their mind, wow, this covers a lot. Didn't it give you that impression? When I'm counting it out on my fingers. So, guys, I recommend that you do that during your presentation, okay? So, share screen again. I'll get better at this, guys, I promise you. Share screen. Okay, so first occurrence benefit, any one of those 10 things happens to you, Aflac pays you $5,000 right up front. Now, it's when you're diagnosed with one of the 10 things I mentioned, and it's also the primary or spouse. Many critical illness policies that like Allstate and some of these other carriers do, they reduce the benefits by 25%, in some cases 50%, when it's the spouse. Aflac is going to pay when the primary insured or spouse is diagnosed with one of those 10 things, the $5,000. Next piece is reoccurrence benefit. So the reoccurrence benefit, $2,500 on a second primary specified health event with no lifetime max. Now this does have to be separated by 180 days from the previous event. So that's 6 months. all right, for this. So if you have a heart attack or a stroke and then you have something else happen to you, 180 days later, the same thing happened to you rather, you would get $2,500. If it happens 3 months later, you're going to get the intensive care unit benefit, okay? It's not going to kick this piece out, so it has to be 6 months in between. Now, hospital confinement benefit, $300 per day, and there's no lifetime max on that. Continued care benefit is $125 each for up to 75 days total. Ambulance is $250 ground, $2,000 air. This is really neat. Transportation benefit, so 50 cents per mile for up to $1,500 per occurrence. And listen, because we live in rural Arizona and you're going down to Phoenix or something like that, or you're out in Kingman, you go to Vegas, this is very important to people. It actually ends up being a lot of money. But this is available on critical care and recovery 1 and 2. All right, these benefits are available on 1 and 2. Lodging benefit is $75 per day, limited up to 15 days per occurrence. Okay, so the 50-mile rule applies. If you're being treated more than 50 miles away from home, you're eligible for the lodging benefit as well as the transportation benefit. Only on CCR2, and this is one of my, well, I don't want this to ever happen, but $25,000 on a major human organ transplant. So there's somewhere else where we saw that before. So I'm going to go back. Check it out. It was one of those 10 things. Whoops. One of those 10 things that we started with. Notice it says major human organ transplant. So what this means is you get $5,000 if you have critical care and recovery 2. You get $5,000 for major human organ transplant. It can't be a pig-like part. It can't be mechanical. It has to be a real human organ transplant, okay, for that to qualify. But you get the $5,000 here, and then $25,000 on critical care and recovery 2. You get the 25 grand, so that turns to $30,000. All right, man. And I'll tell you, and you may have heard of this before, but I walked into a business, and I walk into them all the time. Take a picture every time you see a bucket with somebody's picture on the front of it, and they had something like this happen to them. They need a kidney transplant or a liver transplant. If you want to know why you do what you do, it's to prevent that bucket from ever hitting the counter. Because you're too late at that point as an associate. You're too late. Aflac is too late to help those people, because if they had Aflac, there's no way that a bucket on a counter can get 30 grand in that bucket. There's no way. I don't care how long it's sitting up there, you're not going to get 30 grand in a bucket. But if you have Aflac and our critical care and recovery plan, you can have that $30,000 if you need a major human organ transplant. This is only available on option 2 or critical care and recovery 2. The illness, when you get put into intensive care, Aflac pays you $700 a day, days 1 through 7 on an illness. On day 8, listen what I do. Pay very close attention to my boys. When I present this, I go, Aflac will pay you $700 a day, days 1 through 7 that you're in the ICU benefit, and then on day 8, we know you need more help. So we start paying $1,200 every single day through day 15. What happens in the brain when you lower your inflection, right, and you show care, people lean in. The brain leans into what you're saying when you lower your tone. So you got to start powerful, but then lower the tone and say, and Aflac knows you need more help. So we provide you with $1,200 a day every single day through day 15. Injuries. When you're injured, Aflac, like on the 3rd degree burn benefit, that's an injury, right? $800 per day, days 1 through 7. On day 8, we know you need more help, so we start paying you $1,300 a day every single day between day 8 and 15. Now, the important thing on these 2 payouts is that you don't have to have one of those 10 things that I told you about in the beginning to collect on this part of the benefit. So Tammy went into ICU unit when she had the medical issue, And every time she goes back to ICU, Aflac kicks out that $700 a day every single day that she's in there. And this plan paid Tammy and I $14,000. This paid Jack Frine, I don't know, over 25 grand, I think. So guy, not this part of the benefit, but critical care and recovery, because he was in intensive care. So it's important to know that if a customer is eligible for CCR2, they cannot have an HSA to take benefits from this plan. So if they have an HSA, please do not sell it to them. But listen, if they don't have an HSA, they definitely need this coverage. Step down unit benefit, $300 a day for the first 15 days. The way it reads on the brochure is days 16 through, I think, 30. So typically, after about 7 to 8 days on average, a person goes into the step down unit, and we start paying $350 a day. This, excuse me. This benefit is payable even if it is not one of the primary specified health events. Important notes. You can't sell CCR to somebody with an HSA plan. Can you tell I wrote this, right? Aflac did not, guys, look how nice and clean that is. It's all for you. I paint this picture because I want to help you and train you. Aflac does not, I get this information from Aflac, but I build it for you. You can only sell lump sum critical illness, HSA applicable, I'm sorry, lump sum critical illness or CCR, not both. So a few weeks ago, we covered lump sum critical illness. In a group, you can't have both going at the same time. You have to pick one. Well, how do you pick one? You sit down with the business owner and you find out, hey, do you think your employees would rather get $50,000 up front or $30,000 up front when they get diagnosed with a heart attack? Or you think they'd like to get the deductible filler, that $5,000, and then the $700 a day? You know, talk it out with the business owner. Involve them on the policy choice, because then they're more engaged, right? Since Brendan mentioned he had an HSA, I didn't even go there, right? So if they say, yeah, most people participate in an HSA, that should be a red flag in your brain that we're not going to go there with them. Okay, we're going to talk about what we can provide the majority of their employees. A customer can have the CCR plan and Aflac Plus. So you can't add the Aflac Plus to the CCR plan itself, but you can add it to the accident plan. You can add it to the hospital plan. You can also add it to short-term disability. They can get both, which means when they get diagnosed with one of those primary specified health events, they get $5,000 from the Aflac Plus rider, but also $5,000 from the critical care and recovery policy. So it really helps them out. Now presenting, so let me jump off screen share and I'm going to give you a full-on presentation on this policy. All right, so my name's Eric Peterson and I'm with Aflac. Your employer has brought us in here today to provide you with benefits that are essential to your financial well-being, okay? Now, what's cool about this benefit, and I want you guys to see my hands a little bit as I present. What's cool about this benefit is it's totally voluntary, which means you have a choice today whether to participate in this or not. All I'm going to do is share with you some information, and what it's going to enable you to do is going to be able to make an educated decision, all right? So I'm going to hand out benefit questionnaires as I'm covering these policies. Go ahead and check off what you're interested in, okay? So I'm going to start off with critical care and recovery. Critical care and recovery is very important because the #1 killer in the U.S. today is heart attacks and heart disease and disorders. So this policy covers heart attack, coma, stroke, end-stage renal failure, major human organ transplant, major third-degree burns, sudden cardiac arrest, persistent vegetative state, coronary artery bypass surgery, and paralysis. What if I don't know those off the top of my head? You write them on the back of the brochure. That's how I cheated when I started. It's not cheating, it's actually being accurate, okay? So what happens to you when you have a heart attack? You go to the emergency room and you want to involve the people that are in the room. So you go into the emergency room and then where do they put you? ICU every time. So what does Aflac do? Aflac pays you on top of the $5,000 we've already paid you, plus we pay you an ambulance benefit. Aflac pays you $700 a day from days 1 through 7, on day 8, Aflac knows you need more help. So we start paying you $1,200 every single day through day 15. Then we pay $350 on the step-down unit, and then $300 a day every day that you're in the hospital with no lifetime maximum, all right? So now if you're being treated more than 50 miles away from home, like most of you, now what you do in the presentation is you bring it local. So we live in Kingman. So you're going to be life flighted to Vegas, and you'll see people shaking their head. They're agreeing with you because they've seen somebody go through it, right? So they life flight you to Vegas. Well, then what happens, right? Aflac reimburses you up to $75 a night every night that your loved ones have to stay in a hotel room to be near you. Not only that, but we're going to pay you 50 cents a mile for transportation for you to go back and forth if you need to. So people are like, wow, that covers a lot, man, and they get excited, right? And so then what I do is I tell them the price. Now I pre-print the price or write the prices on the back of my brochure that I'm using for demonstration. Never write prices on their brochures, okay? As a licensed insurance professional, if you write a price on the brochure or write any notes yourself as the agent, it becomes a part of the policy legally, all right? And it can get you in trouble, right? They can write on the brochure, you're not allowed to, all right? So the biggest part of this, guys, if you notice, I said what the need is. It's the #1 killer in the U.S. They're probably thinking about their family members that have had heart conditions. Those people are going to sign up for the policy automatically due to the price. The other thing that I do when I'm quoting either one-on-one, usually one-on-one, this always happens one-on-one, I always quote the married price, all right? Husband and wife, or husband and husband now, husband and wife and wife, whatever the case may be. And you got to recognize that in the state of Arizona, now we can sign up same-sex marriage, correct?
It's federal.
It's a federal law. So don't blink an eye. Don't treat them differently. If you got a problem with it, that's your problem, not theirs. So guys, you got to follow the law. All right? No argument on that. So make sure that you quote the spousal price, because if you see a ring. Because then what happens is when I sat down, here, I'll do it one-on-one. Well, I got a camera for that. Sorry. Yeah, so Brandon, let me tell you about this plan, man, since you checked it off on your benefits questionnaire here. So let me ask you a question. What makes you feel that this policy is important to you? Why'd you check it off?
Well, my dad, he has had a heart attack in the last few years, and it runs in the family.
You said he was 50?
Yeah, he's 50 now, so we've got heart conditions in the family. He's adopted, but he's gotten those medical records now. We know that it's running in both his side and then my mom's side.
Oh, really? Both? Okay, so this is important to you.
Yeah, and getting it now while I'm young is, give me something that's going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the thing on this. This covers a lot more than just heart attacks and even heart conditions. So this covers heart attack, coma, stroke, end-stage renal failure, major human organ transplant, major third-degree burn, sudden cardiac arrest, persistent vegetative state, coronary artery bypass surgery, and paralysis, okay? So any one of those 10 things happens to you, and your deductible is about $2,500, if I remember right.
Yep.
So Aflac will pay you $5,000 when you have a heart attack. Then where do you go in the hospital when you have a heart attack? You go in the emergency room, and then where? ICU. So Aflac will start paying you $700 a day every single day, days 1 through 7. On day 8, we're going to start paying you $1,200 a day every single day through day 15. Then we'll pay you $350 on the step-down unit and $300 a day on a regular hospital confinement, okay? Because we live where we live in Flagstaff, you're probably going to get life flighted down to Phoenix for treatment. So Aflac will pay a life flight benefit. On top of that, we'll reimburse you and your family $75 a night, so they can be in a hotel room near you. Would that have helped your dad when he had his heart attack?
Most definitely.
Yeah, so it's smart for you to make this choice today. Now, the policy is $1,275 a week, okay? And then, how much more for my wife?
I was working my way.
She's already included on that.
Okay.
So does that work for you?
Yeah, that's insane. That's a good price.
Perfect. Now let's move on to short-term disability, right? And the reason this policy is designed to fill the voids of your deductibles, co-pays, out-of-pocket expenses. That's why we give you all that money. But then you still have to pay your rent or mortgage and also your day-to-day bills. So it was smart that you checked off short-term disability. Did you want that to kick in on the first day of the accident and second week of the sickness? Do you need it right away?
For injury, yeah. For sickness, it's a little less. I'm not super worried about that at this point.
But what happens if something like that happens? But when do you want that to kick in? Because if this, and I'm not going to debate, I just want to make sure that, because when we sign up for your coverage, I'm not going to be back till next year.
Right.
So maybe, because we can kick the accident off right away, and did you want to wait a couple weeks on the illness side of it, or did you want to have that happen on the second week?
I've got some in savings right now for one of those sickness things. So
Okay.
I'll have something like this that'll kick in and cover the deductible, then I should.
Oh, okay.
That's all. Yeah.
So we'll do maybe a 0.14.
Yeah.
Right, so let me look that up. Okay, that's $12.75. I shouldn't say the same price. $13.82 a week. That'll work for you?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. So what I asked you earlier, and something I do is I ask employees. I ask employees to another way. If you're dealing with if the employer is concerned about cost of the policies for the employees, another strategy that you can deploy that's been very helpful to me is that I'll ask them, how much are you willing to put towards your Aflac benefits, even before we get started?
Some of that would be feasible for me is maybe if I had covered like
30
30.
bucks?
Yeah.
Probably guys probably heard that. But the thing is here's what happens. If he checks off 3 things on that benefit questionnaire, and then I say, so you said, and I write down 30 on my I have a little notepad, and I write down 30, or I keep it in my head. So with your critical care and recovery, short-term disability, and the dental policy you wanted, it's actually running about $34.50. Did you want to leave the dental policy off and then get that next year, or did you want to go ahead, for the extra $4 and change, get the dental policy as well?
Look at the dental policy.
Right. So the art of that is the brain goes in when you ask them how much can you not afford. Don't say afford. Don't say budget. Okay. It puts the brain in the wrong area. What you got to say is how much can you put towards your Aflac benefit? And they say 30 bucks. Now, when we add up all the plans and they're at 34 and change, guess what you can do? You can just debate the $4 and change. You're not debating all 3 policies. But notice what I did is I offered to take it off rather than, oh, it's just another $4, over what you said. I don't do that, because what I want to do is I want to make him feel comfortable as a consultant that I'm willing to take that thing off if it makes it right price-wise for him. And most of the time when you do that, they'll react by saying, no, for $4 more, man, I'll take the dental policy too. And I'll say that's smart, because there is waiting periods on our dental plan. So by getting that policy today, then what it'll do is it'll help you long term, because 6 months from now you'll be eligible for, extractions, fillings, things like that, and then 12 months on crowns. So that's a smart decision. But notice every time that he made a choice, I also reaffirmed. I said that's a very smart move.
Yes.
Right? And that just reaffirms their decision-making process in the brain. It releases serotonin again, which solidifies that decision-making process. All right? So guys, what I want to do now is just really quick switch back. I just want to talk to you for a second. On the for goals and what we're doing for activity, you guys, the biggest thing the reason why we push for activity and consistency, and we want to get that reporting back, I want to explain why. It's not that we just get excited because we get a 250-point sheet in and you qualified for your PACE. I mean, I'm excited about that. But the more important thing about that is that when you put constant pressure, equal and adequate pressure on a system, the system always pays off. So, if you step on the gas, you go drive a new car and you're test driving a brand new car, it's a Vet, right? And this sucker's got 680 horsepower. The new Vets have 680 horsepower. Like huge. But here's the thing. When you step on the gas during that test drive, that guy sitting next to you goes, hey, step on it a little bit. I want you to feel it. You step on the gas, right? And you go, wow, this thing's got horsepower, right? It takes action, correct? But you're not thinking about the systems that are working to get that acceleration process to happen. You're not thinking about those things, right? It's almost subconscious. I know that if I press on the gas pedal, it's going to go. But guys, when people talk about me, they say, Eric, you have a lot of passion. Man, I wish I had that passion. And a lot of you do. A lot of you inspire me, the passion I see in my team. But guys, passion is 1% of my success story. Passion is 1% of my success story. What gets me to the 1 yard line on the football field of success is systems. It's equal and adequate pressure. Notice we have a webcast every Friday. So we're deploying learning, activity, mindset, how to conversate with people. I realize that this is part of my system, that if I show you these things, you can implement them into your business and have more success. But the 200-point sheet, the activity, what you do every day, guys, it's essential that you do that consistently so that when you do hit the gas and you need to make more money, your systems are already working and you can increase your income in a moment's notice. All right? That's when I had to pay off my child support, man, and listen, when I started with that, I felt like I was broke. So I needed to catch back up with my child support. So all I did was increase my systems, and then I was able to pay off that child support completely, right? The reason is because I had systems that helped me pay my bills, systems that get me to that 1 yard line on the football field, passion that listen, guys, the linebackers are lined up. I'm the running back. Right? The ball's in my hand, and I'm going to tell you something. I run up to that line of big 350-pound guys, and I'm a small dude. Guess what passion does? Passion allows you to jump over that line and get you in that end zone so you can score the point. So you need passion. That's a high order bid. But systems back up everything and get you down the field. Work on your systems, guys. Work on your calendar. Your calendar itself is a system in itself. If you're not maximizing the use of your time, you're letting your systems go to waste. If you're not focusing on getting in front of people 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, you're letting your systems go to waste. We will never have this moment we're having right now for the rest of our lives. All of us are getting older. All of us are gonna eventually need to retire. What you do today, what you do this moment on, is going to affect your retirement long-term into the future. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to sacrifice today so that you can live the life you dream of in the future? I'm willing to put it all on the line. Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And then after 5 o'clock, I'm going to spend time with my family because that's just as important, if not more important. It's the reason why I'm doing this today. Focus on your systems. Focus on daily activity, constant pressure on the system, and you'll get a positive result every single time in business. Guys, I'm so proud of what we've done. We're leading the state in many categories. You guys are making this all happen. I do more of the administration and making sure the region's running correctly. You guys are where the rubber meets the road. I work for you. Servant leadership here in the Alliance. Make me proud, guys. Go fill in those 250-point sheets. Let me see a rocket ship of those tonight as it comes across. Now, we will have our meeting on Tuesday of next week. So Tuesday, show up at your district office at 8 a.m. or 8:30, whatever your district has scheduled for you. But we will start our webcast at 8:30 on Tuesday morning because of Labor Day. So guys, I really appreciate you being on this call. Make the most of your day today. Don't let anything, don't cut off early. Focus in on getting your work done and then enjoy your 3-day weekend with your family. I'm so proud of you and what you're doing in the Alliance. And we will be #1 in the United States of America. They will pick talent from this team. They will come out and do a study on what we are doing differently, what in our organization is sparking a fire, why are we having these sales increases that they've never seen before out of Northern Arizona. Every day we're walking on the moon. Now we got to make it to Mars. Guys, have a great day. I appreciate you. And keep up the hard work. What's up?
Now we win.
Now we win. Now we win. Now we win. Now we win. That's right, man. Now we win. That makes me smile every time. Thank you, Brandon. That's why you're on the team, buddy. Have a great day.
See you guys.